Let's talk about the tea on yeast infections because a lot of women think that it just happens to their body randomly. But in most cases, there's a reason why your body keeps getting them. So today we're breaking down what causes yeast infections, why they keep coming back, and what your body may be trying to tell you. And I promise you, the last one is something that you may not even expect. Welcome back to the Tea, where we have real conversations about women's health, no sugarcoating, no fluff, no BS. Hi, my name is Anna, and I'm a women's health nurse practitioner, and I'm here to help you out, sis. Yeast infections is one of the most common concerns that I see in practice. If I had $1 for every yeast infection I saw, I really wouldn't need to work full time. And one of the biggest misconceptions is that it's something that you have to deal with occasionally, but there's often an underlying trigger. Let's start with what the yeast infection actually is. A yeast infection is the overgrowth of a fungus called Candida, most often Candida albicans. And Candida is naturally present in the vagina in small amounts. The issue happens when that balance is disrupted and that yeast begins to overgrow. A healthy vaginal environment is usually protected by a species called lactobacillus. These bacteria help maintain the vagina's acidic pH and helps keep that other bacteria in check. So when the lactobacillus is reduced, it creates an environment where the bad stuff can grow. Now let's talk about what actually causes that imbalance. Antibiotics, this is a major one. Not only does it kill harmful bacteria, but it reduces the amount of the protected lactobacilli. 2, hormonal changes. This includes pregnancy, birth control use, or shifts in estrogen levels. Stress is also a major factor in recurring yeast infections, or what feels like a yeast infection. 3, high blood sugar levels. This is major. So if you have undiagnosed diabetes or untreated diabetes, yeast thrives in a sugary environment. So if you feel like you have recurring yeast infections, go ahead and get that A1C check. I also like to look at the diet. What does our diet look like? Is our diet high in sugar? What are you drinking? What are you eating? Usually, if you have a high sugar diet, you're probably going to have a recurring yeast infection because yeast thrives off of that sugar, honey. Tight or non-breathable clothing. I do see a high rate of yeast infections of girls who go to the gym and they sit in their gym clothes, or some gym instructors or personal trainers that are usually in leggings for an extended period of time. They usually deal with these infections a lot as well. And certain hygiene products. Baby, if I could put this on a t-shirt, you do not need to smell like a Glade plug-in. No shade to Glade, but you're don't need to smell like that. You don't need to smell like Hawaiian Breeze. You can skip the douching. You really don't need to be washed out. You can skip these scented feminine products. You're really doing yourself a disservice with using that, and you're killing off the healthy bacteria in the vagina. You're really throwing off the vaginal microbiome when you use the douching and the scented products. So again, it's usually not random. There's usually an underlying factor. Common symptoms of a yeast infection usually includes thick, clumpy white discharge that is sticking to the walls. So when it comes out, it looks like cottage cheese. Some people, they say they can ball up their discharge if they can roll it between their fingers. Itchy vagina, itchy inside, itchy outside, itchy all over. Irritation is a big one. Sometimes swelling, sometimes seizures can happen. And another sign of a yeast infection that maybe we don't talk about enough is vaginal dryness. Usually, if my patients come in complaining of vaginal dryness that's fairly new, I will test them for a yeast infection. Now, if you're getting yeast infections repeatedly, like a confirmed diagnosed yeast infection repeatedly, then there's something else that we probably should take a look at. Recurrent yeast infections can be linked to uncontrolled blood sugar, recurrent antibiotic use. Sometimes it's not even a yeast infection, it's a misdiagnosis, or persistent disruption of the vaginal microbiome. So if it keeps coming back, it's important to go beyond treating symptoms and dig deeper. And one of the biggest things that I see in clinic is women self-treating over and over and over again with over-the-counter treatment. Maybe like your Monistat 3-day or any over-the-counter treatment that offers relief for vaginal itching. And sometimes they think they're treating yeast, but they're not treating what's actually going on. And I do tell my patients that say, I use the monostat and it gets worse. For some people, when they use the monostat, it can make it worse. And sometimes you just need actual prescription strength medication. So that's why it's important to go and see your lady, but go and see somebody to make sure that it's actually yeast we're treating and that it's not maybe a STD, or maybe the medication is not working for you, to try different things and to see what actually works for you, for someone to actually get to the bottom of what's going on with you. That's why I say confirmed diagnosis of yeast, because you may feel like it's a yeast infection, but you're actually dealing with something else, and that's why it's important to go and see your lady. So if you're dealing with yeast infections, some things that you can do that may help include avoiding unnecessary antibiotics when possible, and be mindful of irritants and products. Again, you want to stay away from anything scented. I am a big advocate for not putting floral scented things in your vagina, near your vagina or your vulva. Now, it's okay to use like a mild soap. Like I love Dove. I recommend Dove a lot to my patients. So you could use Dove Bar unscented, or the original scent. You don't want to use anything with like the bees, the cooling bees, and things like that. So just either a Dove unscented bar, and you want to wash that outside. You never want to go inside. Supporting a healthy vaginal environment, that includes using probiotics. You can use a vaginal probiotic or oral probiotic. The probiotics that I recommend is in my Amazon storefront located in my bio. And getting properly evaluated if the symptoms keep reoccurring. I can't stress this enough. You may think it's a yeast infection you're being treated for, but it may be something else actually going on. And I do like to get mycoplasma ureaplasma testing if you feel like the yeast infection keeps coming back. Your body is not just randomly working against you. If something keeps happening, there's usually an underlying reason. If you want more real conversations about women's health, hormones, and vaginal health, subscribe for more episodes of The Tea. If you're dealing with recurring symptoms and want personalized guidance, I do offer one-on-one women's health advisement sessions. The link for that is in my bio. I look forward to hearing from you soon. If you stayed all the way to the end, thank you so much. Drop a flower emoji if this is helpful to you, or any topics that you want me to cover. Put it in my comments and I'll be sure to cover them. Again, go and see that lady, and I hope this helps. Bye.